Howdy, howdy. Welcome to another wonderful trash take. There's been some funny shit coming out of the White House in the past, 48 hours. There's been, but Trump's been on a bender. We'll just say it like that. Would start off as Trump deporting a bunch of illegal immigrant terrorists for the most part. The Trinidad Aragua gang. Basically, Trump's activated the Alien Act of 1798, some shit like that. That basically gives him full presidential authority to say the United States is being actively invaded by hostiles and they will be removed. And he's using that to remove those illegals, those specific Trinidad Aragua gang, which the White House itself has confirmed them all to be members of this gang. And so he's claiming it's an invasion from South America via illegal immigration that is ruining cities with drug trafficking and crime. So that Illegal Aliens Act of 1798 basically gives him full authority to remove people. A random court judge has decided that he does not have the powers vested in the presidential authority. Basically, this is like, I genuinely don't understand. The Supreme Court's going to have to weigh on this at this point because Trump has already sent them back, but apparently some judge threw up a red flag saying you can't do that, and it was in the air in international waters. So Trump, I think Trump said, from what I'm seeing, they were saying that it was in international waters, so they don't have to comply with the order, but at the same time, they're still complying with all the names and information. So a little confused on there, but it's been fucking hilarious because Trump basically just told the judge to pound sand, which I'm seeing retards freak out, like Harry Sinons, that one major retard that's all over the internet for Democrats. Let me see. Yeah, here's a banger tweet from I Find Retards. He's an absolutely gift to Twitter from whatever corner of the earth he crawled out of. But Harry Sisson, whatever the fuck this guy's name is, put out a banger tweet of the White House is ignoring federal courts and just doing whatever they want. Trump wants to be king and MAGA will stand by and clap along like good little servants. Constitutional crisis is here. Democrats are calling this a constitutional crisis because Trump didn't immediately bend over to the judges. But here's his tweet right after Joe Biden ignored a Supreme Court order saying that he couldn't forgive loans, where he forgave loans anyways. Amazing. President Biden just announced that he would invoke Higher Education Act to bypass the conservative majority of the Supreme Court and their terrible ruling. He's fighting for student debt relief. So when Joe Biden does it, it's amazing and based. When Donald Trump does it, it's a constitutional crisis. And this is why I hate modern politics, because people actually physically remove their brain from their fucking skull and tweet shit like this literally months back, like within a few months of each other. Like, this was fucking hilarious that I Find Retards out of everyone on Twitter to have pointed this out was him. He was the one. Like, fucking crazy to me. Yeah, which, to be fair, yeah, Trump's basically telling the court to pack sand here, but Joe Biden did it as well. I mean, you want to talk about parallelisms, it's 1-to-1 here, but that's not the only thing Trump said. Trump has also said something pretty interesting, too, about Joe Biden's pardons. So, before Joe Biden left office, him being the good guy that he was, he said he wouldn't issue any pardons against his son. He'd let the courts decide if he's guilty or not. That was a complete fucking lie. He immediately issued a pardon for him, like majority of his family, and I think Fauci, Liz Cheney, and some other January 6th trial people. And it's now found that those pardons were basically written with AutoPen, is what it's called. So for some reason, the president has like basically Adobe signatures where it's just the same signature it automatically generates. And that's basically, from what they're seeing, all the pardons and executive orders that have been coming out of Biden's presidential office were coming from AutoPen. Whether or not there's constitutional grounds to say it was allowed is going to be a different story. This is probably have to have the Supreme Court weigh in. But Trump's tweet, or truth, I don't know what the fuck it's called. The pardons that Sleepy Joe Biden gave to the select committee of the political thugs and many others are hereby declared void, vacant, and of no further force or effect. Because of the fact that they were done by AutoPen. In other words, Joe Biden did not sign them. But more importantly, he did not know anything about them. The necessary pardoning documents were not explained to or approved by Biden. He knew nothing about them, and the people that did may have committed a crime. Trump's saying they're completely vacant. People are saying the Supreme Court's going to have to weigh in to see if Biden's mental state was there, that if he actually knew these were happening, or if it was just rogue staffers signing the shit and releasing it, and Biden's like, yeah, buddy, do whatever you want. I'm busy eating ice cream, Joe. Which, if we're talking about his mental state, it was very clear his mental state was decayed heavily. And if you don't believe me, look at the House Judiciary Committee's review on Joe Biden's mental state. They found him too mentally incompetent to stand trial for the fact that his son was literally using his power as vice president and as president to get money out of foreign governments. Like, this isn't a matter of debate. That happened. He was getting millions of dollars and then immediately transferring money into his family's bank accounts, calling it loan repayment, which is apparently the biggest fraud that banks look out for, and had reported him multiple times that the banks themselves had reported Hunter Biden's actions multiple times to the presidency for investigations, but that was when Biden was in presidency, is when basically they started doing that even more aggressively, and they just swat him down. If you want to see, there's like a 100-page report by the House Judiciary Committee. It is a full document that lists every date, every transaction, all the money, and who the family members it went to directly from Hunter Biden's account. It also coincides with some pretty key legislation too. You can make the decision for yourself what you think of it. I personally think it's a very clear-cut sign of corruption, and Joe Biden signed those executive orders on the way out. I think he actually did do that. I don't think he was letting some staffer do this. I fully believe that he 180'd after he realized, fuck, my family's fucked if I don't do this. He's found too mentally incompetent to stand trial, so he's safe, but his entire family would have gotten fucked out of existence, basically. So this is him throwing up a Hail Mary to save him. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to this was also a banger tweet that Trump had put out. Basically the McDonald's of him waving by, see you later. Last month, this fucking terrorist was basically traveling out to mourn a terrorist leader that died, and they got their visa revoked. And that's what the White House replied by, was Trump waving goodbye. And then this is a scene, and this is the White House Deputy Chief Staff, Stephen, and he absolutely demolishes CNN on understanding how the Constitution works and how the separation of powers work, and how basically judges have no authority to rule on this whatsoever, because it is a power given to the president that's been invoked. It's been passed by Congress. They've allowed the president to have this power. And so he brings up a good point in this argument, but I want to watch it.
Order just earlier today, quote, patently unlawful, end quote, and said that it was an assault on democracy itself. Does that mean that the administration is ignoring this order, and might you ignore future court orders?
The funniest thing is I didn't hear a single CNN person ever ask Joe Biden why he ignored the Supreme Court order, but a minor judge throwing in a matter where they have no authority to even look at this, basically. But that, yeah, Liz, Trump ignoring that judge, like, this pisses me off so badly, because this is how disingenuous the news is with their framing. They're automatically asking him a loaded question when this would have been great when Biden ignored a Supreme Court order.
That meet the criteria you laid out?
The President of the United States and his administration reserve all rights under the Constitution to conduct national security operations in defense of the United States.
True. President is the war chief for the United States. He's in charge of the borders. He's in charge of war. And with the power granted him, can label other people as enemies or invasion. You still have to go to Congress for an act of war to vote for war, but there's other things that the president still has. Basically, the whole border dispute. If y'all don't remember, under Joe Biden, the border went to shit because basically the Supreme Court found Joe Biden's in charge of the border, and if the president just straight up says, I'm not going to do anything about the border, the states literally have to stand down, which is what happened with Texas. Though Texas was still putting armed police fucking everywhere to basically mitigate them, so they left Texas alone and went through like Arizona and California instead. And anecdotal evidence, go down there every once in a while for family New Year's, and I went down there I think in 2023, I want to say. I went back down there for New Year's, and it was the cleanest I'd ever seen, because basically all the illegal immigrants that used to travel through border passes through South Texas were just going up through Arizona and California instead, because why travel through the middle of fucking nothing Texas? We can go up somewhere else where the states are literally just not even grabbing you, like didn't care whatsoever. There were so much easier paths to travel that basically all the human smuggling down there died down. But that's just my anecdotal story. Fucking hilarious, though, because it was the cleanest I'd ever seen. Normally there's trash everywhere, and there's no people for like miles. But how does all this trash get here? Human smuggling.
The Alien Enemies Act, which was passed into law by the founding generation of this country, men like John Adams, was written explicitly to give the president the authority to repel an alien invasion of the United States.
Correct. They passed this into law that this is a presidential power. It's a presidential power. The president decides this. The fact that a judge can say, wait, maybe the president shouldn't decide this, they're completely retarded, should have never been able to even ask that question to begin with, sit the fuck down.
That is not something that a district court judge has any authority whatsoever to interfere with,
if you thought smart, you were fucking wrong.
Or to restrain any way. You can read the law yourself. There's not one clause in that law that makes it subject to judicial review, let alone district court review.
So, Stephen, when you say that this person has no authority at all, this is how our system works. It starts with these judges and then continues.
You know, that's how our system works. If the president decides to move an aircraft carrier in Afghanistan or over in the Red Sea, you know what? A judge can just say, hold on, I don't like that placement there. Go back 2 moves. No, that's a legal move. 5-yard penalty. First down. Like, are we this fucking stupid? Is CNN really hiring their best and brightest? What the fuck kind of question is that?
Up. At what point does it become, in your view, legal for the justice system to be looking at this and making a judgment? And I fail to see how there's any other way but to start with where we're starting here.
Yeah, the judges should be able to just question every single thing immediately off the rip without any question asked and completely overstep their power into the presidential authority. They should actually be able to completely overrule Trump's picks for office, in fact. Like RFK, yeah, let's do a random court judge says, no, I can't have that guy, choose someone else. Even though Congress votes him in, yeah, someone else. Yeah, fuck that. This judge now has the authority to just do whatever the fuck they want, which is what's happening. This is why this is so fucking crazy to me, that these judges have been here for so long, ruining this country, and now they're finally deciding to chime in and show their retarded faces.
Before you get to eventually the Supreme Court.
This should never make it to the Supreme Court. It is a power vested in the president. It's 100% explicit with this being vested in the president. But now the Supreme Court's going to have to rule to tell that court to sit down and shut up.
So first of all, there's a term in law, justiciable. This is not justiciable. In other words, this is not subject to judicial remedy. When the president is exercising his Article 2 powers to defend the country against an invasion or to repel a foreign terrorist that is unlawfully in the country,
which he has labeled the Trinidad gang as terrorists,
as commander-in-chief.
Is Venezuela invading the U.S.?
Notice how she ignores the fact that it's the Trinidad gang members that are being labeled as terrorists and are being removed. She's instead just asking about Venezuela. So she's completely ignoring the one part that is 100% makes sense and goes for the part that maybe might not be that applicable. If you have one condition met, he's allowed to invoke this rule. It's like 3 conditions total, or 3 total things that could happen. If one of these is met, it's within presidential power to activate this law. That's what's so fucking crazy to me. They've looked so heavily into this. That tells me this is their game plan, or this is something they've been cooking up for a while. Because ain't no fucking way someone's just like first day in the office, hey Trump, you see this? 1798? Shit, man, you can just, everyone here's invading us and they're all terrorists? Get them the fuck out of here. Which is not happening for everyone. It's very specific individuals that are being labeled terrorists for the time being.
This is a very important point. This is a Title 50 authority. It's a commander-in-chief authority. So just to ask you a simple question. You talk about how the system works.
She's sitting there and blinking, but I don't think the brain is firing any neurons, I'll be honest.
To direct or enjoin troop movements overseas? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Well, Stephen.
Yes. He just posed the exact counter argument. This is a presidential power completely vested within the president. So does that mean court judges can now overrule if they decide to move an aircraft carrier, if the president decides to tell an aircraft carrier to go fight for a different country? Like, as long as it's not a declaration of war, which has to go through Congress, the president can move our troops around wherever the fuck he wants. And that's that is the counter argument here. How will she reply to this?
My question,
if you could answer my question first. In other words,
is Venezuela invading our country in a way that would apply this way?
So I'll answer yours and you'll answer mine. Under the terms of the statute, Tren de Aragua is an alien enemy force that has come here as detailed at length in the proclamation at the direction of the Venezuelan government. The statute says,
I believe what they're in reference to is the Venezuelan government basically just emptied their prisons and told them to get the fuck out of the country. And that was at the same time that Biden had the open borders policy, which Trump's made this point multiple times. Their crime rate fell exponentially, not because they were killing their prisoners, because they just straight up let them go and told them to go to America. And they fucking came here.
Says that a president has the ability to repel an invasion or predatory...
So this is me grokking the answer, because apparently you can just kind of use Grok as Google, and it's got about an 80% accuracy, I'd say. But Grok's saying that there's no definitive answer that they purposely emptied their prisons in order for them to come to the United States. Trump has said multiple times on the debate stage and during his presidency that they did. Grok's saying, no, they didn't really do that to come to America, but they did have a massive prison break. And so Trump basically made the connection of, hey, all these prisoners escaped. We're now seeing an influx of South American gangs that came from these prisons. So Venezuela emptied their prisons into America. Not entirely correct on Trump's part, but the essence of what Donald Trump is saying is still there. Their gang members have left their prisons and are now invading our cities.
Incursion that is directed by a foreign
state or a government, right? Are they a state or a government?
This would be, yes, it is documented. The TDA was sent by the Venezuelan government in the proclamation. And here's an even more important point.
I'd be curious to see that.
Under the Constitution, who makes that determination? A district court judge elected by no one, or the commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy? The president and the president alone makes a decision of what...
Which, this frustrates me because this guy's actually laying out pretty cut and dry of what happened here and how the president has the authority to it, and she just completely ignores it.
Triggers that
so do you then think we are actually at war with Venezuela, the nation?
Do you see the line of questioning here? We're being invaded by criminal gangs from South America that came from Venezuela. Are we at war with Venezuela? The fuck you mean? What?
You're not hearing me, and you're not understanding.
Completely ignoring what's being said, asking a random question.
Alien Enemies Act, 1798.
Okay.
It says, if a predatory incursion is perpetrated by a foreign government, so it lists three qualifying actions. It could be an act of war.
It does say in the very beginning there has to be a declared war against a nation or a state. That's what it says.
No. Wrong.
Okay. Wrong. It's on his Twitter account. What does he have posted for the 1768 Act? All right, so this is me after the fact that I actually pulled this up. I spent like 20 minutes rambling about this because of how autistic that lady was. It had triggered me. I got triggered. I was a snowflake, and I fell for my own hubris, and I just wanted to kind of summarize this quickly. So we're going to start with the top here. The Senate and the House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled and decided to enact this law. And the person who activates it, the President of the United States, shall be and is hereby authorized in any event as foreseen by this proclamation, or therefore of the United States toward the alien shall become liable, and as aforementioned, the manner, the degree of the restraint which thou shall be subject to, in which other cases shall be upon scrutiny. Basically, all this power goes to the President, is what this says. The President decides, and he decides the full extent of it. Now, this is important because this is where this is where people do not understand, and this is ye olde English. I'll be honest, I slept in all my English literature classes when I was a kid. I'm kind of illiterate, but I understand English because I read a lot of Charles Dickens in high school. I decided that he was an author I was greatly interested in. Tale of Two Cities was a fucking banger, so I know how to deal with commas from these from our ancestors, basically, because this is how I write effectively, and it makes a lot of people mad because I learned how to write like an old ass English author on an accident because I had to learn how to write to pass high school. But this says that whenever there shall be declared a war between the United States and any foreign government or nation, comma, or any invasion or predatory inclusion that shall be perpetrated, attempted, or threatened. What you need to understand is when they say declared war, that's basically the first part, this is the second part, and this is the third part. What does that mean? It means if there's a war, invasion, or predatory inclusion that shall either be perpetrated, attempted, or threatened by any foreign nation or government. You have to rearrange the sentence for it to make sense. This is ye olde English. This is how these people spoke. They used commas like crazy to continually speak, and this is why I understand this perfectly, and I have trouble sometimes getting my thoughts across because, like I said, I write like this. This is when I'm at work and I'm writing, people are like, what the fuck are you on? Like, they think I'm smoking crack sometimes. But what this is saying is if there's war, an invasion, or an inclusion, or that should even be perpetrated, attempted, or threatened by any foreign nation or government, you have to read it in a different order for it to make sense by modern English. That's what this is. And I'll give her credit. Like, this can be hard if you like failed high school. But I feel like having this many people on the CNN anchor team and for them to struggle this greatly and to still ask retarded questions and completely misunderstand this, kind of wild. I understand random retards on Twitter will be completely wrong, but that is how this is read. That was how this is intended. This is a power vested in the President of the United States by Congress. Congress has said this is a presidential power. The judiciary branch has no authority whatsoever to weigh in on this. That's it. That's this part summarized.
Look up the statute. It's on my account on social media.
That's actually where we found it.
Yes. It says, or a predatory incursion, or an invasion.
Any invasion or predatory incursion is perpetrated, attempted, or threatened against the territory of the United States by any foreign nation. I didn't know they actually pulled this up here. Yeah. This is what he's saying. This is what CNN is saying. This is what the news anchor, she's like, here's the highlighted part that they're literally putting up, and she's ignoring that and like any foreign nation or government and just stopping there like the rest of the sentence doesn't exist. How the fuck did you make it to be a CNN anchor? The
statute delineates 3 criteria for triggering the Alien Enemies Act. One is an act of war. which, by the way, an invasion is an act of war, but put that aside. One is an invasion, which this is. One is a predatory incursion, which this is. So it actually meets all three statutory criteria, but with respect to this
I disagree. I don't believe the act of war meets the criteria.
particular statute, the proclamation
This is the war on
is
crime.
utilizing the incursion and invasion language in the statute.
So,
but this is a very
big picture,
important question, because no, hold on. It's a very important question.
Like, at this point in the conversation, kudos to this guy for not calling her retarded, because I would have lost my shit trying to explain basic English to someone who's purposely and intentionally and willfully being retarded to misinterpret this to be retarded on the air. You have to purposefully misinterpret this. Like, there is no way you'd read, like, literally a sentence in and stop right there and not read the rest. Like, I don't know how you make it through life like that. I genuinely don't.
You said the way our system works is the President of the United States commands the armed forces of the country, commands the foreign policy of the country,
I don't think she
and that's
said
subject to district court review. That is fundamentally untrue.
I never said
Well,
that.
no, actually, yeah. She did basically say that that should it not be under judiciary review of what the president does. She did say that. He's paraphrasing.
Did not say
that has never been true.
This was not a military operation. I mean,
a district court judge can no more enjoin the expulsion of foreign terrorists to foreign soil, that he can direct the movement of Air Force One, that he can direct the movement of an aircraft carrier, that he can direct Marco Rubio to engage in diplomacy in a country or not.
Do you think the Supreme Court has any say over this or not?
The Supreme Court should have no say over this.
Does the Supreme Court of the United States have
The
any
Supreme Court
say
should have
over
no
the
say.
things that you were just outlining?
This is very clearly a
I
presidential
believe
power.
what the Supreme Court will say.
They're going to
what I
have to
just
weigh
said,
in,
which
though,
is
now.
The president's conduct here is not subject to judicial
Okay, but
review.
you are
because
acknowledging
these are the
that
plenary,
they do, in fact,
these are
have
the-
a say
No.
here.
Well,
Which they're not. He's not acknowledging that they have a say. He's saying that they have to make a ruling now because these lower court judges are being retarded. Not because they have a say over this originally, but now they have to say in order to stop the lower court judge.
Even though you think they may agree with you.
what we are expecting is
Which
the
is a
Supreme
nothing
Court to
point
say
because
what
your
has always
circular
been the
logic
case,
here.
which is when the president is using his powers as commander-in-chief, those determinations are not subject to judicial review. In other words, the president's designation of Trinidad as a foreign terrorist organization. And
She's
as
trying
an
to like
alien
get him
enemy
to say yes
are
for
part
some
of his
reason, but
inherent
it's like
plenary
obviously
authority.
her being
There is
autistic.
no way.
At what point in the
there is
system,
no way.
Stephen,
How are you
do
going
the
to
courts
expel?
gain
Hold
power?
on. How are you going to expel illegal
At what point
alien
do the courts
invaders
have power?
from
When
our
it isn't a
country
presidential
who are
act?
raping little girls,
When it's
who are murdering little
unconstitutional?
girls, if each and every deportation has to be adjudicated in a district court judge, that means you have no country, it means you have no sovereignty, it means you have no future.
Which he is right, because basically she's saying that every single deportation now has to basically, or has the ability to be just overruled by a judge arbitrarily, and the Supreme Court's going to have to weigh in. That's literally what they're setting up the play for here.
It's fundamentally incompatible.
Which, to be fair, I
to have
believe
a
they do
country
go before a
and
court
have individual
when
expulsions
they're getting deported.
adjudicated by a single district court
Okay,
judge.
I'm just trying to figure
It is
out at what point in the
impossible.
system do you, because what does the Trump administration believe? Because we do have separation of powers in this country. I hear what you're saying.
Yes,
you're saying the
separation of
district
powers.
court does
This
not
is the
have
judiciary.
She acknowledges separation of powers, but still completely refuses to acknowledge that this is a power vested in the presidency by Congress.
Authority.
Interfering
Stephen,
in
let me finish.
the executive function.
Let me
That is
finish.
the separation
Okay.
of powers. That is the
Did
separation
you
of
ignore
powers.
the judge's order here because you thought you could?
She's trying to do a gotcha. This is a loaded question. Did you ignore as a question? Like, this should be completely ignored. This is what politics is now. People asking loaded questions with bad faith connotations attached to them as a gotcha for a clips on air. And politicians normally fall for this shit.
So the judge's order and the actions taken by the Departments of Defense, Justice, and Homeland Security are not in conflict. And the Department of Justice has been clear that they are not in conflict. But
So you think that you did go along with the order that the judge put out? You do not think that the Trump administration defied this order?
As the Justice Department said, there is no conflict between the judge's order and the actions taken by the departments.
She's trying to do a gotcha for, oh, so you're listening to this judge. So because you listen to him, then you admit that it isn't a presidential power.
I just listed. But I'm making a deeper and more fundamental point.
Yeah.
The district
so,
court
yeah, I mean, if you
has
don't have
no
to follow
ability.
it, why didn't you?
The district court has no ability to in any way restrain the president's authorities under the Alien Enemies Act or his ability to conduct the foreign affairs of the United States. Let me paint a picture for you. President Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio had engaged in intensive diplomacy to obtain a bilateral security agreement with the nation of El Salvador.
Little Marco's
If
been
a
popping
district
off.
court
Little
judge
Marco's been
can
popping
join
off. It's
that
been a
bilateral
long
security
way since it
agreement,
got
again,
destroyed
I
by
got it.
Trump.
Stephen, you've made your argument.
We do not have a foreign policy.
We've heard you say this. Did you ignore, did the administration ignore the order
I hear
from
what
the
you're
district
saying,
judge?
which you've answered multiple times, but I'm going to ask the same question.
And I've answered it. I've answered it because the Department of Justice has made a filing in the court. But let me make another point. The judge, in this case, put the lives of every single person on those aircraft at risk. Did he know how much fuel was in those planes? Did he know
he's trying an
flight
emotional
conditions?
appeal.
Did he know the weather conditions? Did he know how many crew hours? Did he know the need for crew rest? Did he know any of that? No.
That would be funny, though.
Violated.
That would be funny if they're halfway across the, or like 90% there, and the judge says, turn around. Sorry, guys, we don't have enough fuel, so we have to just crash the plane into the fucking water now. I got to listen to this court judge, which I don't think that would happen in any way, shape, or form, but that'd be fucking hilarious.
The law. He violated the Constitution.
So do
he
you
defied
think that
the system of government that we have in this country.
Because that does seem to be what you're arguing.
Do you think the White House is above the federal courts? That's what you're arguing. No, that is not what he's arguing in any way, shape, or form. This is why I'm tired of politics, to be honest, because you have retards like this that will completely ignore everything you say and ask loaded questions where they know they're being unfaithful, or where they're giving them unfaithful arguments, and completely and willfully being ignorant because they know boomers watching this will eat this shit up. He's complete. The White House above the courts? Not even close to what's happening. The courts are trying to interfere with the White House's duties.
These same district court judges
the framing here is fucking awful, which is why I hate seeing it so fucking
flooding
much.
This nation with millions of illegal aliens. Do these district court judges didn't issue any injunctions to save the lives of Jocelyn Hungary or Laken Riley or anyone
else? The federal courts. Is that what you're saying?
No.
What I'm saying is that what you said, there's a separation of powers.
He should have just said no here.
The judiciary exercises judgment and relief.
I don't speak for the White House. You are here to speak You're here to speak for the White House. I just want you to answer that one simple question.
I am. Ready? Here we go. Under a proper reading of the Constitution, district court judges provide relief to individual plaintiffs seeking relief. District court judges do not have the authority
He's basically saying this is completely
matter
outside their
to
wheelhouse.
enjoin the functioning of the executive branch. But their authority is at its lowest point when the president is exercising his powers as commander-in-chief. And I asked you a question, you never answered it. Can a judge enjoin troop movements overseas? Can a district court judge enjoin troop movements overseas?
Stephen,
yes or no?
I am not going to get into the
just say no, and then you'll know that I'm right.
This is a
just
separate
say no,
question,
and you'll know that
Stephen.
I'm right.
Okay, we're not talking about other troops
the
overseas.
President,
I need to ask you about something else.
The president issued a proclamation delineating in detail how the Venezuelan regime sent this gang, this terrorist organization, to our shores. And by the way, and I love being here, but all the outrage that we are seeing from the Democrat Party and from the corporate media.
Oh, well, that's it. But yeah, it's been pretty funny these past few days seeing the retardation in America spiking to all new highs. On a side note, a woman keyed a Rivian because she thought it was a Tesla. Another guy in New York keyed a Cybertruck in the middle of traffic, got out of his car to key a Cybertruck, then got seen by the police, so he ran away, came back an hour later, since he left his car in the middle of traffic, and got arrested. And the person whose Cybertruck he keyed was Jewish, so terrorism and a hate crime there. And yeah, America's the retards coming out in full swing. It's retard season. Retards are abound everywhere. People are putting on, I bought this Tesla before Elon was a dictator. Like, this is the kind of low IQ shit that people are paying for right now. But it's their money. You want to be stupid? Be stupid. That's your American right to be as retarded and ignorant as humanly possible. And there's a lot of people exercising that right to the fullest extent. Like this lady here, exercising her right to completely and willfully misinterpret this, because there's no way a normal individual that of sound mind would read the first sentence and then completely ignore everything else and then ask him, so the White House is able to overstep the courts? The White House is overruling the courts? The White House is above the courts? No, I genuinely don't understand how someone could be this stupid. That's basically the point of this. Yeah, the world's on fire like always. It's another world on fire day. I'm a world on fire enjoyer. Yep. Oh, well, that's all I got time for today. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. If you like the video, comment down below or subscribe to my channel. I'll probably post another one of these daily because it seems like every day now the content president is providing content for us, the subjects, and I'm here for it. So without further ado, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you in the next video. Until then, later.